It's 2019. Do you know who your president's best friend is? Tom Barrack, best friend of Donald Trump. This per CNN, Roger Stone, two opposite sides of view. And Stone said that he's his only person that he treats as a peer. And the way to remember his name is Tom Barrack. Just remember because Barack Obama was an Uncle Tom. Okay, so there you go. And I said it. It's almost any way you slice it. Okay, so just be nice with it. So, it's Trump's bestie. Met him in 1985. This guy sells him the Alexander's apartment store. 88, he sells him Plaza Hotel. Super plush, super high-end. Both in New York, both plummet. Almost as soon as he gets it. The guy gets pretty much skinned alive. Well, somewhat, by Tom Barrack. Trump falls for it. He buys these properties that go bankrupt and belly up, like almost immediately as soon as they're purchased. And I guess he swallows the losses. And he's just been played. He's getting played to this day. He's an arcade, really. But so this guy Tom Barrack, he owns a company. It buys Miramax. Of course, that's the Weinstein Brothers company, I think. In 2010, 2016, they unload it. They unload Miramax to the Qataris. That's 1 year, you know, just incidentally before the whole sex scandal blew up. Maybe they knew something about it or whatever. I don't know. It's just an interesting timing event. And then in 2017, after the whole scandal blew up across the New Yorker, and New York Times, and everything, and like every last production that was out there, they're in negotiations to buy out the Weinstein Company from keeping it afloat. They decided to drop out of that just because there's no way they could possibly negotiate where he wasn't going to make some money. Alright, so anyway, Tom Barrack's company is called Colony Capital. It's also called North Star now. North Star Capital, Colony Capital. Now, it says on Wikipedia of all the places where I could get information from, in 2011 they tied for third place as far as big giant real estate conglomerate or firms, where they were only behind Blackstone and Morgan Stanley real estate, and that's about it. Now in 2001, they buy Resorts Atlantic City. Resorts Atlantic City is an offshoot of Resorts International. It's infamous. Resorts International, Trump owned for a couple of years in the late 80s, from what I understand. Now, it was involved in all kinds of gangster dealings. I mean, Meyer Lansky, basically leader of the mob for most of, I don't know, a couple of decades, good decades. Anyway, yeah, he was calling shots within it, saying who was going to be appointed, who was going to be working for him. Anyhow, 2001, he buys the Atlantic City version of Resorts International, which, of course, Trump back in the day owned. I mean, he had excuse me, he had a lot of hotel dealings and casinos right there, properties. Of course, as soon as he went into Resorts International, that went bankrupt too. So it's just another time in which he got played. This time by the mob, it would seem. So anyway, Meyer Lansky was dead by about a half a decade by the time that he actually got in there. But he was well known to have been one of the major players in it before that. Anyhow, let's fast forward all the way to 2010. 2010, Tom Barrack's company, Colony Capital, buys $70 million worth of debt on the building that has come to be known as 666 Fifth Avenue. This is a highly profit-losing endeavor in which Trump's nephew, Kushner, Jared Kushner, has put himself in and gotten himself into, really stepped in a mire, a bog. I mean, I don't know why it turns out that a building, 666 Fifth Avenue, is not even in the top 100 tallest buildings in New York City, and yet it's the most expensive purchase of a building in New York City. It might have something to do with the fact that it's right across the street from Rockefeller Center. Maybe, I don't know. Probably houses a lot of crazy stuff going on in there too. I don't know. Maybe I don't want to know. But so 2010, he buys $70 million worth of its debt, of 666 Fifth Avenue's debt, and then it lowers the obligation because Trump asked him. So Trump called in a favor to his buddy. Anyway, Trump was mob related. Anyhow, so fast forward a little bit more. We're going to the 2016 campaign. Everybody remembers that old time. Well, he was campaign senior advisor to campaign Trump 2016. He actually is the one who angled to be able to get Manafort in there. Yeah, he was an old friend of Manafort. Guy who's going through all kinds of travails these days. I think he's already gotten his felony or two. Anyhow, he was handed down. So, now, whenever Trump announced he was going to have a Muslim ban, and all the networks went wild. I mean, I didn't like it either, but it was a big hullabaloo. So he had his friend Tom Barrack do some damage control on that. It turns out because he's a Lebanese American, Roman Catholic Lebanese American, he called in to the ambassador of UAE, United Arab Emirates, and told the Emiratis, hey, don't worry, he's got accounts over there in the United Arab Emirates. He's got properties, holdings, stocks. Just cool it, because I mean, what if he was to take his money out? Think about that, Emiratis. Anyhow, because he worked, in the background on his behalf, what they did was exact a promise from Donald Trump. Turned out that in return, they got that he was going to drop the proposed platform of the 28 pages of a Senate. Actually, it's like a bicameral report upon 9/11, and these pages were long since forgotten about, and came to the front a couple of times in 2016 because it was going to be a big deal, and Trump was making a big deal out of it, calling the Saudis out for one of the being involved in 9/11, and so he decides he's going to drop that. Now, in the book Fire and Fury, Michael Wolff, he writes some interesting stuff in there. Now, he mentions Tom Barrack. Tom Barrack's hardly mentioned anywhere that I can see. I mean, there's like a New York Times article about him. There's a Wikipedia page about him. And pretty much outside of that, it's almost silent. Now, Fire and Fury mentions him. In Fire and Fury, he says, with Jeffrey Epstein, ellipses, ... Trump and Barrack were a 1980s and 1990s set of nightlife musketeers. So he calls in Jeffrey Epstein. And Michael Wolff calls in Jeffrey Epstein. Michael Wolff puts Epstein and Trump and Barrack. Well, Epstein, if you don't know, of course I have to just say this, he's a so-called billionaire pedophile that's kind of a blackmail artist to be able to get dirt on people, invites them over to his chambers, to his orgy island in the Bahamas, and gets them on camera. I mean, all kinds of people were in his black book. You got Ehud Barak, you got Henry Kissinger, you got even actors, man. You got Mick Jagger, and you got Chris Tucker. All kinds of people were up in that. Oof, man, I don't even want to go in there. But so anyway, there's a linkage now. It's interesting that Tom Barrack is mentioned with Jeffrey Epstein because outside of this book, I've never heard that linkage whatsoever. Now, what Trump did was he was going to actually bring in Tom Barrack. He wanted to have Tom Barrack as a mentor or advisor. Now, he allegedly 3 different cabinet positions he turned down. Now, in Fire and Fury, it mentions that he turned down Chief of Staff. He was originally being thunk of for Chief of Staff position, which is a thankless position that Trump's going to have filled up with Manafort. No, Lewin. No, one of these guys soon. Anyway, Mick Mulvaney. Anyway, he also turned down supposedly Ambassador to Mexico and Treasury Secretary. That would have been a little too bold, I think, make him Treasury Secretary, but what's nuts though is that 2008, Tom Barrack and his company, they purchased the Neverland Michael Jackson Ranch. So think about that when you put it in it's the same frame as Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, nightlife musketeers. The plan to bring him in as chief of staff was apparently called the Two Amigos Plan. That was within the Trump circles, allegedly, according to Michael Wolff in the book Fire and Fury. So I don't really know where else I could get any information on this, but I mean, it's a little bit freaky, nevertheless, thinking about the connections that are here. And what we already know, he owns the Neverland Ranch of Michael Jackson pederasty infamy, and why would he want that? Why would he want that even associated? Maybe that's why you never heard of Tom Barrack. Just maybe. So anyway, this book goes on. I think right below it says, in parentheses, Epstein, who remained close to Barrack, have been whitewashed out of the Trump bio. So Epstein and Barrack are still tight. Even though Trump doesn't go over to Orgy Island, or that place just right across the street from where he lives on Palm Beach Island. Yeah, they live less than a mile away in real life. Anyway, so, yeah, this, okay, I got just one more quote, so bear with me. This is from the New York Times article. It's a little bit ambiguous. It says, quote, his friends describe him, talking about Tom Barrack, as a concierge to the Persian Gulf royals, helping them buy American and European homes, looking after their children on visits to the West, and vacationing with them in his home in the south of France. That's just, anyway. So far, Tom Barrack's company, North Star Capital, Colony Capital, so far since Trump's been elected, has earned $1.7 billion in the Middle East, just the Middle East, ever since he's become president. Nah, it's not me. I haven't earned $1.7 billion anywhere. And just makes you wonder how much Trump has earned. I think I did it. Yeah. Uh-oh. How do I stop this thing? Can't stop me now.